you no empathy, man?
And Kamala comes out with a new accent, this time a Jamaican one, while she's on a media tour making herself look stupid. Welcome back to the JP Reacts channel, my beautiful freedom-loving friend. This is where we like to call out the lies, hypocrisy, and corruption of tyrants and Satan and their puppets, shine the light of awareness on woke absurdities, and highlight the amazing work of other freedom fighters, because I do believe that truth conquers. So, someone, or at least what she stands for, that truth is looking to conquer, is Kamala Harris. She is someone who very obviously stands for nothing, hopes that you fall for everything. So she's not doing so hot. Never has. She's just, how much can propaganda prop her up throughout her whole career? So she is now on a media tour. She did the sex podcast, I think Who's Your Daddy or Call Me Daddy, something degenerate podcast. We saw the 60-minute interview she did. Didn't do too well on that. And now she's doing these shows where she can be more casual. Kamala, we got to put you out there just in a, you don't have to talk policies because, you know, please don't talk policies. It doesn't go super good, but just be out there, be relatable, be likable. And somehow she comes across as the most unlikable person. And I think there's a reason why. We're going to take a look at some important clips she did recently on Steven Colbert, and she was on The View, and also her hurricane live broadcast today was shockingly embarrassing for her. We'll take a look at that. But I think there is a primary reason why they've managed to find a candidate that is somehow less likable than Hillary Clinton. And I think Hillary and Kamala have this in common, and I think it's just more obvious with Kamala. She is fake. People do not like fakeness. It comes across as cringy. When someone is trying to pander to people, thus, here's a new accent. I'm in Detroit. I'm in Atlanta. Here's a Hispanic accent. And now on the Colbert Show, I'll do a Jamaican accent. I don't know. Did she think there were a lot of Jamaican people in the audience? I don't know why she did that, but she did. So I think when you are trying to fake your way into likability, it sends a subconscious message to people that says, I think you're stupid enough to fall for what I'm doing right now. I think you're stupid enough to believe this is me. I think you're stupid enough to believe I'm being real. So there's a reason why we get this cringe sensation, and I think that's one of the reasons. I also think our bodies are smart. You know, we have a survival reflex, a fight or flight response that's always scanning for danger, you know, at least at an unconscious level. Now, incongruencies register to our fight or reflex as dangerous. You know, if you ever got that feeling like, oh, something's just off here, something's not right with that person, or you know, you see something move in the bushes, like, oh, what is that? So when there's incongruencies with a person, they are actually a more potential danger. Like, okay, something's not congruent with them, their words, their actions, they don't meet what I can tell is actually going on. That is a danger that we perceive. It's a threat because there's a level of deception going on. Now, Kamala Harris isn't going to physically harm anyone unless she gets elected, and then, you know, people like you and I go into concentration camps, but she's not going to harm anyone while on TV. However, our survival reflexes, we detect the deception that's going on. We see incongruencies, we see fakeness, it registers as a threat. Because if you're out in the wild, if something's trying to deceive you, you realize that's a threat here. So with that said, those are some of my reasons I believe that she comes across as so cringy, so unlikable, because she registers as a threat to people. And indeed, I think she is a threat. Let's take a look at Kamala's latest round of spectacular performances that somehow managed to make her less likable than the all-loving Hillary Clinton. And of course, we have to start with her new Jamaican accent. I think this is her fourth accent. She's got her regular way of talking. Who knows if that's her real way, but that's her most common way of talking. She does the black accent.
You all helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024.
She pulled out the Hispanic accent.
Thank you for the question. I hope your family is okay and your home is okay.
Amazing. Is that how she normally talks? And now on Steven Colbert, who is the best late night propagandist ever. Remember the vaccine dance? So good. She pulls out the Jamaican accent. Bob, let's see the replay.
Have you no empathy, man?
Yes.
For suffering of other people, have you no sense of
purpose.
Well, and it's, of course, stronger up front. I've heard some speculation. No, that was an Irish accent. She pretends she's got Jamaican heritage. Who knows if that's true? Candace Owens, by the way, is disproving a lot of what she says about her heritage. Yeah, by the way, another incongruency. Up until 2016, she's running, hey, I'm the first Indian woman elected to Senate. And now she's running, I'm a black woman. Are you? What are you? You're saying you're different things. You're acting different ways. You have different stances on fracking, different policies on the border. You're different accents. You are a threat. We'll get back to the video in just a second, but first, I'll tell you something you already know. It is an election year, and that means two things. One, there's never been a more important time to be informed. But two, there's never been a time where news organizations are attempting to deceive you more. That's why to stay informed, I am right here on Ground News, because they take the deception out of news, bring transparency so you can see what the biases are and where your sources of news are actually coming from. And for you to check out Ground News, you can scan the QR code that you see now, hit the link below, or go to ground.news/JP. So Ground News gathers sources from all over the internet, along with telling you where they come from, what the biases are, gives you all the topics you can choose from. Now, I love the blind spot feature that Ground News offers. It tells you blind spots for the right. What are almost no news sources that lean right covering? Tells you that. Same thing for the left. An example of that, Trump White House stopped FBI from fully investigating Brett Kavanaugh. And there's zero sources on the right reporting on that. Thus, it's a blind spot in the right. And being a free thinker means we don't want to just be told what we want to hear. We want to know what's really going on. So you can investigate this story. You can look at the media outlets, where they lean, and you can judge for themselves if they're worth paying attention to. And of course, my opinion, the left has tremendous blind spots, and I wish more liberals would subscribe to Ground News. They would awaken a lot faster. So my friends, because it's an election year, the time to be informed has never been more important, yet the attempts to deceive you have never been stronger. But Ground News puts the power back in your hands. So if you want to be informed rather than misled this election cycle, where you can compare media coverage, spot bias, avoid algorithms, try Ground News today, and you can save 40% off your subscription. Just go to ground.news/JP. Hit the link in the comments below and save 40% off your subscription today. Now back to the video. Now you gotta love this. Before we get back to her late night spectacles, Steven Colbert, we got serious hurricane situations. Obviously, the major catastrophe in North Carolina with a hurricane, and Kamala Harris sprung right into action on that. She flew right to San Francisco to do a fundraiser. From there, she went to LA to do the degenerate sex podcast, Call Me Daddy, or Who's Your Daddy, or You're My Daddy. I don't know what it's called, but that was her response to Hurricane Helene. Now, Hurricane Milton devastating Florida. So they throw her on this live broadcast. We see a criminal in the middle up top, but nonetheless, there she is. Now take a look at her thinking you're dumb enough to not notice she's covering her mouth talking to staffers. Here we go.
Flood. We really got to watch those areas and those communities. So it takes quite a while for that water to drain.
They won't know I'm doing this. This is a live broadcast. What's being reported online is she was telling her staffers it was a live broadcast. Obviously, we heard her do that. She doesn't know there's a mute button on her Zoom or whatever she's on. But she's like, dude, if people can't see my mouth, they can't hear my words. So she's telling her staffers it's a live broadcast. Why they didn't know it is probably because they have her as a leader. But she was telling them that so that they could hand her a question to ask. That's just how much of a puppet she is. Like, all right, there's a hurricane coming and we're being televised here on C-SPAN. I guess I'm supposed to look like I care. I'm supposed to look competent. I'm supposed to know something about hurricanes, like strong winds. That's all you got to know. They'll do damage. Aides to hand her a question. It's a live broadcast. We can't do it later. Hand me the question now. It's a live broadcast. And then speculated she immediately prompts her to go into her talking points that were just given to her, which she does not articulate very well. Take a look.
Flood. We really got to watch those areas and those communities. So it takes quite a while for that water to drain.
Thank you very much.
We'll get to what she says here. She was just handed to say on the piece of paper. Watch her eyes right now. She's looking at her staff. Then you can hear the paper come in.
To drain.
Okay, slide that paper on my desk. Cool. Taking a look at it. Quick memorization, which wasn't very effective because you'll hear how it comes out.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Ken, I have a question for you. You mentioned words matter, and I know there is a lot of media following this briefing.
And she goes on and doesn't ask a question. Hey, Ken, I got a question for you. And she makes a statement, fumbling the hell out of her words. Just absolutely great. Our best and brightest, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Steven Colbert asked Kamala for the second time that day what she would do differently than Joe Biden. The first time she was asked it was earlier in the day on The View. Here's how that went. And let's just put it this way. It went so well for the right that Trump instantly turned it into a campaign ad. Take a look.
If anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Kamala, everybody knows that everything Biden did had a negative impact. You just glued yourself to it, said you wouldn't do anything different. We got to do some damage control. We got you a spot on Steven Colbert tonight. We handed him the same question to ask. Try to do better.
What would the major changes be? And what would stay the same?
Like, Steven Colbert doesn't know what she was asked on The View. Of course he does. I don't even know if it's the same network. It might be. However, he absolutely knows. And why I point that out is I think it makes it so painfully obvious that her campaign says, Steven, here's the questions for you to ask her because you're a true journalist. The minds of these idiots that watch you. Here's a question, Steven. Go ahead and here's what we want you to ask her if we want to give her a second chance. It went less bad. Trump's not turning this one into a campaign ad. He definitely did the first one. Let's take a look.
Administration, what would the major changes be? And what would stay the same?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm obviously not Joe Biden.
She really is a scholar.
I know.
And so that would be one change in terms of...
I like that. What would you change from what Biden did? Well, first of all, I'm obviously not Joe Biden, so that would be a change. No, technically that wouldn't be a change because she's never been Joe Biden, so that wouldn't be a change. So, go on.
But also, I think it's important to say with, 28 days to go, I'm not Donald Trump.
Whoa, I thought she was. Okay, so that would be a change. Really staying direct with the question here, Kamala. I like it. Yeah, but the leftist
And so
crowd.
when we think about the significance of what this next generation of leadership looks like, were I to be elected president, it is about, frankly,
It's not one complete sentence there, but just go on.
I love the American people, and I believe...
I love that. Art just completely abandoned the question. I remember this talking point. Just say, I love the American people. Yeah, like, what would I change? Well, I'll tell you what I would change. I love the American people. Now, if we pretend she's still answering the same question, then that would imply she previously didn't love the American people. Who am I to accuse her of abandoning a question? Because that would be the coward's way out. That would mean she's trying to manipulate the audience into not hearing her answer to the very question she was asked. So maybe she actually, giving her the benefit of the doubt, would be she previously didn't love the American people, but now she does. Let's hear more.
Even our country, I love that it is our character and nature to be an ambitious people. We have aspirations.
I like that. A singular of people. To be an ambitious people. Not to be ambitious people, but an ambitious people. Why don't you use the word person right there?
Dreams. We have incredible work ethic, and I just believe that we can create and build upon the success we've achieved in a way that we continue to grow
opportunity and in that way grow the strength of our nation. So, for example, my economic policies, I think of it and I've named it as creating an opportunity economy. So it's about things like investing in small businesses. I love our small businesses.
I hope you're a vegan because that was a major dose of word salad served up for you. Now, in the propaganda show that Steven Colbert is, we've got an agenda. We need to make Kamala seem really likable because she's not. She doesn't come across that way because she's not. So what did people like? Whoa. People like beer. We're going to have a whole staging of Kamala drinking a beer. That's going to make her so relatable. Yet the way she goes about it is, it's like she's never drank a beer before and she's an alcoholic on something else. Let's see how this goes.
One of the old saws is, they just want somebody they can have a beer with. So would you like to have a beer with?
He literally said the quiet part out loud. This is what we're trying to condition people to believe. She's just someone you can have a beer with.
So I can tell people what that's like. Okay. This one.
Dude, I love it. She's laughing. Like, she I don't know what she's laughing at. Like, oh, the idea of me just, like, being someone you can have a beer with, that is hilarious. So I have to laugh. My horse mouth.
Now, we asked ahead of time because I can't just be given a drink to.
Another quiet part out loud. We asked ahead of time. This is so staged. This couldn't be more fake.
The Vice President of the United States, without asking, you asked for Miller High Life. You wrote Miller High Life. I'm just curious.
Okay, the last time I had beer was at a baseball game with Doug.
I like that. What a beautiful reference of time. One, we didn't need to know that. But the last time I had a beer was at a baseball game with Doug. Like, here's a reference of time. You don't know when I was at a baseball game with Doug, who's being accused of sexual harassment all the time now. Like, she could have said, last time I had a beer was July, or 5 minutes before I went on. Like, if she's trying the last time, give us a reference of time, not the activity you were doing, lady, because we didn't know you were at a baseball game.
Cheers.
Okay, cheers.
There you go.
It's so funny. It's hilarious.
Ooh. That tastes like the beautiful city of Milwaukee,
The
Wisconsin.
champagne and beers.
There you go.
She read the label. She seems like someone I would never want to have a beer with, because look at how she acts. I love what Ben Shapiro wrote on Twitter when he retweeted this. I don't think he's a fan of Kamala's. ChatGPT, please generate a candidate with a charm of Hillary Clinton, the inauthenticity of John Kerry, and the tics of Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. It's actually pretty accurate. So the takeaway from this, my beautiful freedom-loving friend, is one, hopefully you had some laughs at someone who deserves to be laughed at, because clowns are meant to make us laugh. If we let the clowns deceive us, that is our fault. Another takeaway is, this is how fake she is. Another takeaway is there's a reason why we cringe. That's because at an unconscious level, and more awake you are, more of a conscious level, you're perceiving a threat. There are so many incongruencies. Here's my Jamaican accent. Here's me pretending to be relatable. Ask me a question, I'm guaranteed not to answer it. Those are incongruencies built to create deception and manipulation, and there is a good reason why those register as a threat to us, because those represent danger, and I think that's exactly what Kamala Harris is. With that said, my freedom-loving friend, let me know what you think in the comments below. I'll take a look at them, look forward to reading, and I'll look forward to seeing you on our next video. But until then, just be yourself.